Good morning. My name is Josh Silver. I'm a co-founder of Rebrand Washington Football. We are an advocacy organization composed of residents of the Washington metropolitan area who demand a name change. Even though the team has dropped its racist mascot, this business is not finished, and that is why we are here today. There was a president who said trust but verify, and we are here verifying that indeed the new name will not have any Native American names, logo, or imagery. And we're going to ask them to help high schools rebrand. More about that a little later. But first, what we're going to do today is we're going to have an opening prayer, my friend Joe Gaines, and then after Joe we're going to make remarks, and then we're going to present our petitions and our letter to the team representative, and then we're going to have closing ceremonies. Joe, please, opening prayer.
Hello, my name is Joe Gaines. I'm in Choctaw, southeast Oklahoma. What we want to do here today is we want to light some sage, and we want to purify ourselves, and come to the Creator and come to the Spirit in a good way, if they can see that. I want to offer a quick prayer. I'll speak in my language, but I want you to know what I'm saying so you can pray along with it, so you can be part of this ceremony as well. I'm going to ask the Creator to look at us and see us in this way, and that we are His children, we are her children, we are its children. Halito ashtale, halito ashtale. Shalom b'sho holito pama. Ishmi yokolacha. Atake baya shapiha. Ishmi yokolacha. Yapke hashtale yapke. We thank you for these things that you have given to us, hashtale, and for guiding us to be here with us today. And we do these things in a good way, in a good heart, and a good spirit. May these effects carry on long after we are gone, just as those who came before us prayed in a similar way. We ask these things, that you would help these people change their name. You can do more for them than we can. Help them and touch their heart. Guide them. In this way I pray. Talk with us.
Thank you. Wonderful, wonderful. So as I said, I'm Josh Silver. I'm co-founder of Rebrand Washington Football, and I want to talk about why we're here today. So this year we collected over 1,000 signatures, and this was done virtually because we're still in the middle of a pandemic. We started this in 2015. Since 2015, we have collected 11,651 petition signatures. Let me say that again. 11,651 petition signatures. We are thankful that finally the team has promised not to use any Native American names, themes, or logos for the new name and rebrand. And we appreciate the words of team president Jason Wright over the summer. First of all, he put our mind at ease. He said, I want to address the name that has emerged among our fan base, warriors. And he goes on to say why that name is not acceptable. It's evocative of Native American stereotypes. But you know, words are important, but actions are really what count. And we're here because, have we seen the final name? No, we have not. We are here to say, stay true to your words, Jason Wright. And Jason Wright continues, we have 89 years of history in this league, and failing to acknowledge our past use of Native imagery in the consideration of the new name wouldn't be mindful of the individuals and communities that were hurt by the previous name. Individuals and communities that were hurt by the previous name. For decades, Dan Snyder was denying there was any hurt, and he said it was an honor. Jason Wright goes on, we've made significant changes in our organization and our culture, and our new name must reflect these changes. To that end, we will choose an identity that unequivocally departs from any use or approximate linkage to Native American imagery. Thank you. That was a big step, but the team's work is not done. More than 8 decades of the name on the national stage has inspired copycats. Let me tell you how many copycats. 93 high schools in the United States of America have the old name of the team, Redskins, a racist name, 93 high schools. And not only that, according to the National Congress of American Indians, 2,000 high schools have eliminated Native stereotypes, but more than 1,900 remain. More than 1,900 remain. More than 8 decades of peddling a Native American stereotype. Can you imagine how many millions of children have been exposed to racist stereotypes? How many Native American children have been bullied and belittled? How do these names honor Native Americans? How does this strengthen our country? How does it unite us? How does this build on the strength of our diversity? Let's really celebrate Indigenous Day coming this Monday and drop these names once and for all. We eliminated blackface, we must eliminate redface. We asked the team to help clean up its mess, to help get rid of the copycats. We asked the team to help clean up the names of 93 high schools with the Redskins name. We estimated about $100,000 per school. This cleanup would cost more than $9 million. Let's round it up and say, Washington football team, are you willing to create a $10 million fund to get rid of the Redskins names and other Native stereotypes in our nation's high schools? We ask you to work with the Native American Heritage Fund based in the Midwest. That's what the Native American Heritage Fund does. It funds the cleanup and the rebranding of high schools. We ask you to work with the National Congress of American Indians. We ask you to work with our leaders, Suzanne Harjo and Amanda Blackhorse, among others. Work for restorative justice. Atone for your sins. Repent and apologize for the hurt. Cleanse yourself. Help us cleanse ourselves. I grew up in Bethesda. I live there, but I consider the District of Columbia my hometown. The former name was a national embarrassment and a smear on my hometown. It was a smear on me and made me hurt as a Jew, thinking of all the names used against my people to justify genocide. It is symbolic of the national curse of racism, being the name of the team that played in the nation's capital. I am reading a book right now whose theme is that the Trail of Tears and the Native American genocide paved the way for the expansion of slavery in the South. Yes, the two are connected. The former name is a legacy of this history and legacy. Yes, we need to extirpate the deep roots of racism in our nation's history. We applaud the team in getting rid of the name and pledging not to use any Native American stereotypes for the new name. But we call on the team to engage in a national education campaign by funding the eradication of Redskins names from our high schools. Thank you. Maybe before the next speaker, maybe we should do one of our chants. Change the name, change the logo, rebrand Washington football.
3 times.
3 times. Change the name, change the logo, rebrand Washington football. Change the name, change the logo, rebrand Washington football. Change the name, change the logo, rebrand Washington football. Thank you. Now we're going to have RWF members and friends. Who wants to start us off with some remarks? Anybody?
Hokage Winaha. Ijaje Lathoisa. Ijaje Wahe EA. Mary Phillips. I'm from the Omaha tribe of Nebraska and Laguna Pueblo. Ilundan. It's good that you are here today and everyone here on this beautiful day. I first want to do one piece of protocol here and acknowledge our first stewards of the land of this area, who are the Piscataway from the Piscataway chiefdoms. Also the Hamoki, the Nantego, the Mattaponi, the Chickahominy, the Mohican, and the Powhatan people who left us this beautiful land and space that now has a large training camp on it. But we are here nonetheless and enjoying our time out here. Well, and we do know why we're all here today. To put a bookend on this historic legacy of racism towards Native Americans and attack on what we as First Nations people hold sacred. It is time for the team owners to confront your racism, acknowledge your team's history in that racism, and depart from colonizer thinking and make what you do next with the name matter. Matter beyond cashing in on a people's culture. To root out systemic inequality through racism, everyone should first be seen as human, to be seen as contributing peoples to society beyond skin color and entertainment at halftime, ridding the rest of sports from the oppressive mascots that you so firmly stood behind. The millions of dollars that were used to take control of the high schools and their mascots, sending propaganda to whoever will go along with the sham that the R word is not a slur. As the saying goes, we may forgive, but we will never forget. The push to take over, to talk over us and around us, to maintain your control over the name, the slur. So to make the next step matter, all your investment should be undone. Invest to undo the racism and create an accepting space for everyone to be welcomed in any sport. So today we ask you to kill mascots for the people and to take this challenge, the Washington football team, take the challenge and the NFL to fund schools to end racism and Native mascots. And as Josh mentioned, there are so many schools right now, 93, that could use that investment to rid ourselves of this racist name, which include terms like Indians, the Warriors, Braves, and Chiefs. So they're all listed here neatly, so you have nowhere else to look but to have your investments turn all these schools away from using racist mascots, starting with Red Mesa High School, which you put hundreds of thousands of dollars into to help forward this racial slur. So in order to help start this next step in a good way, in a way that Native Americans across this country can believe you and believe in, start with Red Mesa. Weebnaha.
I'm Ian Washburn, co-founder of Rebrand Washington Football. And over the past few weeks, I did a little research with some high schools that still have the R word for a mascot. And I communicated with some leaders in those high schools and let them know that we were trying to open up dialogue between these schools and the Washington football team. Since the Washington football team is going to have a huge amount of information obtained during their rebrand. They're going to learn a lot of things during this process, and who not better to help a high school rebrand from a racist mascot than a pro football team that just went through the process. So I have a little letter here. This is for Tanya Snyder and Jason Wright. To assist your efforts in showing a good faith commitment to reconciliation for the many decades of, quote, hurt, as Jason recently described the effect of the former name and imagery on communities and individuals, we hereby present you with 3 major educational institutions in need of a mascot rebranding. The schools are located in Pennsylvania, Texas, and Virginia. Leadership at each institution has been contacted by RWF, and their contacts are provided below. Eyes, ears, and hearts are open for dialogue. We encourage you to take this next step in sharing the knowledge and skills you have gained from a successful rebrand at the highest level. and the future will be a better place without anti-native mascots. 3 schools in particular that I've communicated with are Donna High School, which is located in Donna, Texas. They use the R-word mascot. Their name and imagery are nearly identical to what the Washington football team just rebranded away from. Seems like a perfect place to start with rebranding a high school. The second one is Neshaminy High School in Pennsylvania, in the town of Langhorne. They are also an R-Skins mascot. They need help rebranding. And lastly, not far from Washington football headquarters today, is Sharonda High School in Winchester, Virginia. They are in need of a rebranding. They took on their name in 1992, around the very same time Suzanne Harjo brought national attention to the problems with this name, and I think it might have been named out of spite. That's just my opinion. Anyhow, this is just to help you out, to start out with this process, and you already have people you can communicate with reaching out to, and I hope you'll take advantage of it. Last but not least, over the past year, the name of George Preston Marshall was removed from the team's Ring of Honor at FedEx Field. That newly vacated space should be saved for Suzanne Harjo, a woman who has had more influence on the history of this franchise now that Marshall's name is gone than anybody. She began using the name Washington football team many decades ago. The name stuck on in the activist community and people continue to use it, then the team became the name. Why not stick with a name that's already working? Keep the name, move forward. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm, as these folks know, but I'll say for the camera, I'm Bill Mosley, along with Josh and Ian, one of the co-founders of Rebrand Washington Football. And we're here for the 7th consecutive year, and we believe the last time, because of all the progress this movement has made. You know, Rebrand came in after a long, in the middle or even toward the end of a long battle against this team's name that was started by Native American activists, and we joined it as non-Native allies. But a lot of progress has been made in the last 7 years, so much more. You know, I look at Dan Snyder's long time intransigence about the name, even though he was educated about the harm he was doing, as something of a stone wall or maybe a dam that created a barrier toward progress. And the activists were a body of water. And as you see with many old dams, they hold the water back for a long, long time, but eventually a leak sprouts. And that leak widens into a flow, and then eventually the whole whole dam comes tumbling down. And that's sort of how this movement worked. And you know, for many, many years, many decades really, the movement was water building up as pressure against this stone wall that seemed like it would never yield. And finally the leak was sprung, and that leak was the murder of George Floyd, which really changed, was a sea change in the nation's thinking about racism and racial justice. And then suddenly the flood came, and so much change in a very long time. There's often been said that change is impossible until it becomes inevitable. And change seemed impossible. It really wasn't. It seemed impossible for many years, and then by early 2020, suddenly change became inevitable. Not only the renaming of this team, the fall of Confederate monuments around the country, schools changing names, and more and more. And so I think this all points to the potency of activism, that sometimes you seem like you're beating your head against the wall. But what we were doing, and what activists around the country were doing all these years, was creating that force that once the crack occurred would cause the major flood that would change everything. So I hope this is a lesson to activists who think they're not really getting anywhere at their work, because it often seemed that we weren't getting anywhere for a few years. That we were petitioning, we were demonstrating, but you know, all along we were building that momentum, that pressure that finally broke the wall. So I hope this is a lesson for us, a lesson for a lot of activists, and we're going to stay together until the actually do pick a name, and the team has promised that they will pick a name that's non-racist and non-exploitative. We're going to stay around until they do, and then we'll celebrate the final victory. Thank you.
How you doing? My name's R.L. Mirabal. I've been coming to this thing since 2017, and I never said a word, so I've got something to say. I'm a kid who came to this area from New York City. I'm an Afro-Anglo-Taino of the Taino diaspora of Puerto Rican. And I came to this area, and in 6th grade, second time in the Super Bowl, they made us sing Hail to the R words. And I thought, what? I knew nothing about football. I'm from New York. I'm a Yankee fan. But they were singing this song, and all I remember is watching Lone Ranger on TV when I was a kid growing up, and I don't remember using that word, anyone ever using that word as a buddy name, as a term of endearment. It was always pejorative. Tonto never liked it. And I thought, why the heck should I be singing it? I had no clue about football. I said, who do they hate? They said the Cowboys. I became a lifelong Cowboys fan. But that sounds funny, but the kind of push that this name and this movement had on kids like me, it became kind of obsession. I realized that I was living on Jefferson Davis Highway, and that everywhere I drove around here or rode around here, everywhere you looked was a Confederate monument. Ian mentioned that he thinks one school made their choice in spite. That's what Jim Crow was all about. Naming their stuff in spite of the movement that actually won and made people free. It's the same concept, it's the same thing that's happening in the world. And of course, I was also buoyed by the fact that in 1994 I had the luck. I'm a theater teacher, I'm a high school teacher, but I was an actor once, and I had the honor to play King Philip from King Philip's War. And I got to meet Suzanne Harjo, and I learned about that struggle and that movement. And I became a lifelong fan. And I looked for people who didn't think they were crazy. I didn't think I was crazy, because everyone around here did whenever I complained about the name. I called them the Washington racial slurs for decades. And then I found these people, and I'm home. And I'm very happy to throw in with them. I do want to mention, as much as we're trying to convince somebody to do something, I'm not happy, and I'm ready to give you a pass, Dan, because we spent years and decades trying to convince you to do the right thing, and it took the death of a black man for you to finally do it. That still drives me crazy. That still angers the hell out of me. The Indians as well, and all the other teams that changed your name. This guy had to die for that to happen. You could have been decent friggin' human beings, but you decided to go this route and go, okay, now everybody thinks we should do it, so maybe we should do it. The day that would never ever come, put it in all caps, came after a man got sat on. That still ticks the hell out of me. And Danny, they're going to take this team from you. You are one scandal away from being the LA Clippers, okay? From having this thing taken right out of your hands. So if you want to do anything that's going to keep Goodell from swiping this team from you and selling it to a decent human being, then put the money in and undo all the work you've done, all the people you paid off to support this insanity of using this name. Go back, undo it, and have these schools get better, have these communities get better, help out these reservations, put some money into finding our girls back and getting them back to their families, because all of that is a legacy of the team you bought and the team you said you would never, ever, put it all in caps, change their name for. Now's the time, or else Goodell's going to have the last word. That's all I got to say.
All right.
Hi, I'm Dominic Pugliese. I'm a history teacher in the area, and I just want to say I think Mary's challenge regarding the high school teams is very important because there are very, very few, I think it's a single-digit percentage of high schools in the United States of America that teach Native history past the year 1890. And so what this team used to do and what these high schools are still doing by their example is freezing Indigenous people in the past. and giving an image to the young people of this country that freezes a whole group of people back in the past in these outdated stereotypes, and doesn't give them the education to realize that Native communities are thriving, are here today, and have a bright future ahead of them. And so, you know, the irony of these high schools that often are not teaching the real history, using these racial slurs as mascots, is too much. It's a big problem. So I see that as an educator myself who teaches a Native history class that does go after 1890, there's too few of those, and putting the money where the mouth is to remove these names, but then also put positive things in their place to teach this history, to make it part of our national curriculums, is very important. So the work is definitely not done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who want to make remarks?
Yes, while we're changing names, you have to change the name of your street here. You're still holding on to the name. You're still holding on to the R word. So that would be the next thing to change, and removing all of your old, outdated Native American mascot symbols on your website. You're sneaking them in, we see them, they're small, tiny little mascot logos, but we still see them. So please change those. Thank you.
At this point, we would have a Washington football team representative, and we would literally give them the petitions and a letter. But I think they decided that maybe they're tired of this, but I hope they still receive this message. So we're going to proceed with a closing victory song, and then a team photo. I want to take a team photo of you all and put it on the Rebrand Washington football website this afternoon. So we're going to have a closing song, and then we're going to march up to the booth and deliver our letter and our petitions. So closing victory song, team photo, and then the march.
Before my husband starts, I just want to say a little bit about this song. At first we weren't going to talk about it too much, but now we would like to talk about it. This particular song, the Lakota people wrote after the Battle of Little Bighorn, when they won against the Seven. But this song was a victory song specifically written for George Armstrong Custer. So we equate our victory over the R-Skins with that victory over that battle, because it's that important. So thank you, everybody.
Oh, thank you, honey. I want to remind everybody that Snyder didn't change the name because he really wanted to. He changed the name because of money. Because the Nikes took their merchandise off the shelf. Because other sports teams started taking their items off the shelf as well, affecting his bank, affecting the bank of the franchise. So once again, it's all just about greed. The same old greed since Columbus was here, same old greed since the Constitution was formed, same old greed then, the same old greed in man now. That's why I can say when I debate these issues, and a lot of activists do, it's just, it happened way back when. Can't you get over it? I wasn't there back then. You wasn't there back then. Well, let's just get over it. Well, we can't get over it because it's still going on. It's the same old greed. Just like the man said when he was 6 years old, how it affected him. How did it affect you when you were 6 years old? What affected you when you were 6 years old? What affects your daughter, your nieces, your sisters, your brothers when they were 6 years old? Maybe some of them weren't so tough. Maybe some of them 6-year-olds weren't as tough as him. Maybe some of them were a little more timid. And they come home crying. They made fun of me because they called me a Redskin. They made fun of me and went, woo, 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 woo. They made fun of me. And it's not just for one day. It's not for 2 days, 1 week, 1 month. All year. All through that. And even right now, even into my age, still offended by that. I'm still hurt by that. I'm still mad about that. I still feel bullied about that. It's not over. Just get over it, huh? Well, why don't you just get over it, Snyder? Off this victory song. The Lakota victory song, like my wife said. In victory, we take this. But I also want us to kind of remember those things that happened to get us here. Susie Schoen Harjo, Amanda Blackhorse, Rebrand, and all the other organizations in the United States. Not just organizations, the people as well. People of social conscience to say demeaning people is not right. The American Psychological Association says bullying, it's against the law. We want to remember those things too, and the allies. On this humanitarian issue, it's not just about natives, it's a humanitarian issue. How you going to treat me and how I'm going to treat you. How would you like me to treat you the way you treated me? How would you like that? Calling you names, bullying you. But I can't. I don't. Because that's not the way I am. So we offer this victory song. Na pe haska oka che se wa welo he he pekan he han o la snitcha waka so ta yelo he o how tonkashla see us in this way tonkashla. May you help us on this journey to Kasha that we call life, and help those that advocate disrespect. They think it's okay that they're honoring us when we tell them they are not. Touch their hearts and touch their minds in a kind and a gentle way, Tom Kasha, that you can show them. You can do more for them than I ever could, than we ever can. Show them the incorrectness of their ways. That they're harming your children, your sons, your daughters. Teach them that if it's to be over, then they have to make it over. And that's the way I pray.
All right. Team photo. 1, 2, 3, victory! We have a delivery.
Yes, sir.
Did we give these to you? This is for the team president and the team owners.
Okay.
And so is that.
Okay.
It's for Tanya and Jason.
I'll have to carry on with my functions.
Okay. Are we good? I will
I will turn them into the team.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You too.
Ready?
Change the name. Change the logo. Rebrand Washington football. One more time. Change the name. Change the logo. Rebrand Washington football. Yeah!